And we're live. So
Hello.
Today's guest is the amazing Ellie Betts of the Writers Mindset podcast, isn't it?
That's right. Yes.
So you co-host that with Christina Adams, who's been a previous guest on the show.
She has. She dropped my name on it, and now I'm here.
Yes, it's like she was like, Ellie needs the experience of being interviewed. And you've also come up with a great collection of books for us to talk about. So
good. I'm glad you like them.
So shall we jump straight in with the first book?
Definitely.
And the first book is On This Day She by Tanaya Hirschman.
Yes, which I have here.
Woohoo!
Which is a very interesting book. I like it because, well, I mean, a lot of history you find was written about men, which is fine. Yeah. But a lot of great achievements that women did aren't really talked about or even really known about. So when you sit down and go, oh my God, these women are amazing, they did all of this stuff, it's quite impressive. And obviously it's got one for each day of the year.
Yeah. So how did you find that book? Were you looking for a specific book about women's history, or was it recommended to you or something along those lines?
I actually think Amazon is just really good at knowing exactly what I want to buy, unfortunately, which is why I have so many books and not enough time to read them. But I think it just came up on a suggested, or I might have seen it on Twitter. It was a while ago now, I'm afraid. And I just pre-ordered it a few days before it came out because I just thought it was a really great idea.
And any particular history facts from it stand out to you that you were like, oh yeah, that was interesting? I mean, did you read it as time goes on and say on this day, or did you just read it one go as a book kind of thing?
I tend to just pick it up on the days I remember and see what's going on or what happened on that day, to get like a little, just a little fun fact throughout the day and see what's going on. So I haven't read the whole thing because I bought it maybe a year ago, but I haven't read it every day. But keep me going for longer then, won't it?
You delve in and out. Occasionally you check to see what particular have you got what does it say for today?
I did just open it actually in case you asked me that. Today's Lucy Parsons. It says, on this day in 1915, Lucy Parsons led 10,000 unemployed and hungry people in Chicago in the Chicago Hunger March.
Oh.
There you go. She led a very big march in Chicago.
We have a comment from a Christina Adams person who says, hello, with many O's on it. So
that sounds right.
Yeah. So she added extra O's onto it. Okay, shall we go on to the next book?
Absolutely.
Which is Milk and Honey by Rupi Kaur or something like that.
I have that here too.
Yes. Oh, very nice cover.
Do my showcase. Yeah, I mean, Rupi Kaur, I believe, got famous from I should have looked this up properly beforehand, but from writing very short poems on social media. And so when she sort of took off, my understanding is that she put them together in a book, and they are all really quite short. Well, not all of them, some are a little bit longer, but they're interesting. The book as a collection, because I actually sat down and I binged the whole book for this one. I didn't dip in and out. It's a little bit shorter than On This Day She. But yeah, I binged the whole thing and it just felt so emotional. There's just such beautiful poetry in here. It really spoke to me. It made me want to write more poetry too. So I do definitely recommend this if you'd like some new poetry to read.
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the things is that you are going to be an author, aren't you, at some point in 2022?
That's true. My first fiction book will be published this year. I need to stop telling people in case it doesn't happen. No, it's happening. Happening.
I'm sure on Amazon, everybody will be waiting to see, will you be publishing under Ellie Betts, or will you use a different name on Amazon?
I'm probably going to go under a slightly different name, maybe something like eBets or something. Obviously, it's still going to be me, but I think sometimes you have to sound like you're part of the genre, I guess.
Yeah.
So Ellie Betts doesn't sound like someone who writes fantasy, but EJ Betts sounds like someone who writes fantasy. But maybe I'm just being silly.
Right, talking about fantasy on the more comic side, I think it's Malt by Terry Pratchett. And I think I've spelled his name right.
Yeah, you have spelled it right. this is one of the old covers, actually. I think it's just such interesting art on the covers.
Yeah.
The Terry Pratchett books, the Discworld novels, are just a lot of fun anyway. Terry Pratchett writes great fantasy, but without it being inaccessible. A lot of big fantasy names out there write quite in-depth high fantasy, or there's a kind of, I don't want to say pretentiousness, but there's sort of that kind of air about some of them. Whereas Terry Pratchett is very much grassroots. It's just kind of normal people, relatable people that end up in these ridiculous magical situations. And that's what I like about it. Within the Discworld series itself, there's like multiple different series threads. And so this is book 1 in the Death series, because you can see Death on the cover just here.
Yeah.
See Death? Good. Oh, no, wrong way. This way. This is Death. And Death, the way he writes Death in itself is just funny. But what he gets up to and stuff, I just think it's very good world that he's built, Terry Pratchett. Good guy.
Yeah. No, I sympathise because I wrote fantasy. Well, I've still got fantasy books on Amazon, but mine was very much more the comic kind of light fantasy thing. And you're right, a lot of, I mean, it's almost a problem with fantasy that some people expect the extremely dense kind of like every description of every like thing of the wizard's thing and the rest of it. And
which is good fun. There's nothing wrong with that necessarily, but it's definitely not for everyone. I think Terry Pratchett does a good job of more grassroots stuff. I like it.
Yeah. Right. On to the next book, which is a book I've heard of, which is always amazing. Ready Player One by Ernest Cline.
I love this book. I actually saw the film before I read the book. I'd never heard of it before. The film is fantastic if you haven't seen it. It's a great film.
Yeah, I've seen the film,
but they did modernize it a little bit. It's got a lot more modern gaming references as well as the old ones, whereas this just obviously has the old ones of the time, just all 80s stuff. And it's just good fun. I love that they get into like D&D and they have to go through all these games and different adventures and just silliness, not silliness really. It's a relatively serious book, I suppose, but I think it's good and I love all the references. It's an interesting read.
Okay, from like fiction, we go to non-fiction and writing specifically. Lifelong Writing Habit: The Secret to Writing Every Day by Chris Fox.
Which I also have.
He was big in the self-publishing community for a long time. I think he probably still is. I've just not seen him around for a bit.
He has a few little books like this. They're not very long. Look, they're quite thin. But I mean, I actually reread this last year. Oh no, I read it for the first time last year. Sorry, with Christina and a couple other people, and it was just nice to read it together and talk about it. But it's a very inspiring book. Like he is obviously supposed to be inspiring, but I mean, I like the way he writes it. It's not just go out, write a book. It's listen, this is not that hard. Sit down, do it. This is how you do it. And I like that attitude, and I think it's good advice.
Yeah. Well, Christina on Mystery Shopper in the comments said love lifelong writing habit. So
she introduced me to it, you see.
Yeah. So right. On to the next one, which is Secret Shadows by Alexa Whitewall.
Yes. Which I have here too. Alexa is like a fantasy romance writer, I think it's called. Fantasy romance.
Sorry, I don't know that.
My Amazon device over there just responded to that name, so I'm going to stop saying the name.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, they can't object to that promotion of any. Maybe I should just put the A-word device in there. There's like a reference down at the bottom as like, you can buy one of these, just don't buy this particular book with it and talk about it.
No, she writes very good fantasies. This is about, well, it's kind of about the Greek gods and being in Olympus and stuff, but she has her own twist on it. And I just found it so interesting. I read the whole thing really fast because I like that. The author has a really easy to pick up writing style. And it's just really easy to binge through it because it's so interesting as well. And I like her take on the myths and stuff.
Yeah. Is it part of a series or is it just one-off book?
It is part of a series. Book 2 is coming soon.
Ooh,
I don't know the date off the top of my head, but I believe it's this year.
Yeah. Well, we've got a few more comments. One from Jim Ankower, who says, "Good day." And
Good day, Jim.
And Christina Adams with Secret Shadows is such a good book. And I'm not going to mention the author again. Well, I'm sure Ms. White Wolf is a fantastic author. It's just she might trigger your various electrical Amazon devices. We mentioned her, Christian.
Yes.
So
it's constant danger.
Right. Before that, let's move on to somebody who is not named after an Amazon device. The book is Stormfront by Jim Butcher.
So I don't have this one physical because I'm actually listening to the audiobooks. I'm going through the whole series, and it's read by James Masters, and he's just fantastic at it.
Yeah.
So Stormfront is the first one in the Dresden Files series. And I just really love the whole series, to be honest with you, but it would seem redundant to put all of the books on there. So it's really great urban fantasy. The main character has like this really great, witty, sarcastic humor. And one of the things I particularly love about it is, yes, he's a wizard. He is also in Chicago, actually. It's the second time I'm mentioning Chicago today for some reason. He isn't that good at being a wizard. Like, he's not a bad wizard, but he has really good limitations in there. You know, it's not easy to just get everything done with magic, like click of a finger kind of thing. He really has to work for it. And, you know, it always feels like it's building up to that point towards the end. And you're like, is he actually going to be able to pull this off? And I just kind of love that.
Yeah. Well, it's a bit like they say with some of the superhero films. I'm not necessarily going to mention the companies involved, but we know there's one which has a mouse as an emblem, and then there's another one which is like various letters. And but one of the things that's often been claimed about one of those two superhero kind of genres is that the superheroes are too overpowered. And I think that's a problem in fantasy and magic as well. Like, if you have somebody who just goes like massively, like it must be really, really too powerful, then it limits. You're almost better to have a wizard or a witch or somebody who can just do a few little tiny things. I mean, because you can always build up. But otherwise, if you start off with somebody with like stupidly who can change the universe, then where are you going to go?
There's no reason for the reader to read on, because it doesn't matter what happens, they can just magic it away, right? Yeah. And also, I think starting with those characters who are more human, let's say, more non-magical or whatever, people reading are going to find that more relatable. So obviously they want to read on, they're going to relate to the character, care more about the character, and so want to read more of it, particularly when it comes to a series. I don't think I've actually read a series as long as this before, so goes to show it works.
Yeah, well, I'm going to do a bit of audience participation, which I've never tried on this show before. But if anybody watching it wants to say who their favourite wizard is from anywhere, then as long as it doesn't involve any kind of Amazon device name or anything, I don't think there is a wizard or witch with that name, but yeah, so if anybody wants to say what their favourite wizard or witch or person of magic from any thing in history, then feel free to. Anyway, let's go on to the next book, which is actually very similar to the one. It's not identical, but it's very similar to one that Christina said on her show, which is the Vampire Academy 10th Anniversary Edition.
Not necessarily the 10th anniversary edition. I apologize for that. It's just Vampire Academy in general.
Yeah, okay.
Christina actually recommended this book to me as well. Yeah. She'll be very pleased when she sees this come up on screen. It's a good series. It's I like the vampires feel quite dark. I like that it feels interesting. The characters, again, they have those good limitations. They can't just fix it all. And in fact, she's not very good at fixing much, because obviously she's kind of young and she messes up sometimes, but I like that. And the way the story is going, because I've read 3 of the books now, I think it's a 5-book series, it's not going in an expected way. It's going in a very good way. The characters are developing really well, really nicely, and the love interests are also developing really nicely, which is good. but nothing is just simple, and I kind of like that. It always messes up, I think. It's quite good.
So is there anything actually about the £10? Because that wasn't the link you gave me, but is that just like they're just another version of the same book? Or is it?
I think so. It's quite a popular series. I think it's been around a little while now, and I think she's quite a popular author.
Yeah. Well, we had from this Christina person, I don't know who that is, saying the Charmed ones.
She's basically my stalker, yeah.
Yes, you're like well, she's like. And she also said VA is a 6-book series with a 6-book spin-off called Bloodlines. So
6. I'm so sorry. I don't know if she'll ever forgive me for getting it wrong.
Oh, she's your proofreader then. No proofreader. Right. Let's go on to the next one, which has the slightly exciting title of Brain Bugs.
Yeah, I actually listened to this on audiobook as well.
Oh.
I think it's actually free on Audible if you have Amazon Prime. I'm not getting paid to advertise this. I just I think that's why I picked it up though, because I just thought I don't want to buy more credits on Audible. I'll just find something that's free, and I was absolutely hooked. It's very well written, and it goes through all the little ways your brain works, and why they work that way. So, for instance, I can't think of a single example now. Every single example's gone out my head, but it'll give you an example and why people do that, why as a society we do this, and then where that comes from sometimes as an evolutionary point, things like that. And it was absolutely fascinating to learn that kind of stuff. Well, also for free, but that's not just why.
Yeah. No, I've been going through there because they've added a new free library onto Audible.
There's loads on there for free.
The Midnight Library, which was recommended on the previous shows on that free library. That's a good book. And I'm listening. Also, I've got Jane Austen collection. But it's a bit weird because it's clearly produced well, but there's no description on the Audible thing which book it is. So I was like, and then they're talking about sense and sensibility, and I'm like, oh, okay, so it's that one. And I've keep scrolling back and forth. 50 hours of Jane Austen books I'm like listening to at the moment. So it's interesting. It's got a lot of decent stuff on there, but obviously everybody should go out and just buy it anyway, in whatever format they're on, using my link below.
Yes, exactly. It's probably something I'd like to read again. I might consider getting the paperback at some point because can refer back then, can't you?
Yeah, right. And this is another book that I've actually, I think I've read this or listened to this, which is A Short History of Nearly Everything by Bill Bryson.
So again, I think it was free on Audible, but don't quote me on that one. But I was just curious. Like I originally wanted to just start looking into astrophysics and stuff like that, which sounds like a weird thing to just pick up for no reason, but that's just where my brain went that day. And then a friend recommended this because it's not all astrophysics in this, obviously, but it's got bits and pieces of loads of different science and stuff, and it's absolutely brilliant. I think when it first came out, I don't know if it still is, but when it first came out, I'm told it was quite a popular book at the time. And the friend who I was talking to, he was like, I love this book. I read it every year. It's so good. I'm like, I can see why. It's absolutely fascinating to read. If you've got time to go through it, because it is quite a long book, I don't think you'll regret it.
Yeah, I think I listened to it on Audible as well. I listen to most stuff on Audible now. That said, I also listened. There was audio book he wrote about the home as well, which I've just listened to.
I'm actually going through that one now as well. Yeah. Again, it's very interesting. I think I prefer Short History of Nearly Everything. Yeah. But the way it talks about the home and where everything comes from, it's very, very interesting.
Yeah. Right. On to the next one, which is there's a certain magical theme here, isn't there, about your book? White Trash Warlock.
Yes. Actually, I'm gonna start sounding boring now, but this was free on Audible. I wanted something because I was obviously going through the Bill Bryson and things, and I wanted something a little more lighthearted, a little bit more fantasy. So I thought that's an interesting name. I'll give it a try. Tested that the narrator was good because obviously you can't get it as a bad narrator, right? And I just absolutely binged it. I think what the author does is have this really relatable main character who is sort of a little bit magic again.
Yeah.
But he has to like kind of beg, steal, and borrow to get the job done, and it doesn't even really go right. There's a lot of family drama, but not in the normal sense. Like his dad might be trying to kill him, you know how it is.
Yeah.
And he also has the main character is also gay, and that's one of the things he also likes to do. He didn't have any books with particularly good main characters that were not that were gay when he was growing up, and so that's one of the reasons why he writes that, because that's what he wants to see. And I think it obviously he's there and he is gay, but it's not really shoved in your face. It's kind of like one of those things, like if it was just a straight male character, he might notice a hot woman, or vice versa. If it's a straight female character, you might notice a hot man. But it was kind of there enough to have that. And then this is really, he's like making comments about hot men, and it's just like, I don't know why it seemed like a novelty, because you don't see enough of it, and it just felt really good. It was really well done.
Oh, okay. Right. The next author is a controversial one. Oh, shit. I mean, this is Christina's book, which was on the show before.
Yes.
Yes.
Which may seem like I'm being biased, but I do genuinely love this story.
Yeah.
It's Christina. Obviously, you know Christina, but she writes such wonderful characters and such wonderful worlds. This book is genuinely so cozy that reading it, because I've read a couple more in the series as well, reading them, you just feel like that comforting read. You're in their world and you want to be there. You want to keep going back there. And the characters are just hilarious.
So what happens in this book then?
Oh yeah, I should probably tell you what happens in it.
Well, I mean, obviously without any spoilers.
No spoilers. There is a mother and her daughter. They have certain powers in terms of they can see ghosts, and there is a big ghost problem in the local area, and they have to help. I don't want to spoil any more than that. I'm not good at describing things like this. You know, people ask me for recommendations, I always forget how to describe it well, and then they're just like,
it's a book with a family of people who see ghosts. It sounds a bit like The Sixth Sense, but
it's not quite like that. It's a very different kind of ghost to The Sixth Sense, but it is very well written, and the characters you will just fall in love with.
Okay, right. On to the next book, which is Writing Down the Bones. This is non-fiction, I believe.
It is non-fiction. It's a book about writing.
Yeah.
It's quite an old book about writing. It was published in 1986. But don't let that deter you. I read this just before I started my master's degree. And it completely changed the way I felt about my writing, in a good way, obviously. But her sort of Zen-like approach to writing sort of relates to that part of me where writing isn't just about getting the words on the page. Writing is about sharing that part of you, and the part of you that is writing has to be expressed, kind of thing. And that's just one of the things she talks about. It's not a very long book. But Natalie Goldberg, she's just such a good writer. Used to be quite famous in America, I think. I'm not sure, but the way she talks about writing will just really make you think about the way you think about writing.
So what were the top takeaways you got from that book then? Was there like anything you read it and then you're like, oh, that made a big difference to me? I
think the main thing that I did after reading this was carry a notepad with me and write down all the stuff all the time, which I know sounds like a really obvious thing. But it's not just about writing stuff down that you need to write, whether that was for an assignment at the time or now that I am actually writing my first book. Not just writing the stuff you have to. Writing is like a natural thing that you need to do, if you have that kind of about you. So being able to get it out anytime, anywhere is really good. And more importantly, use a rubbish old notepad that you don't care about and a pen that's easy to write with. Don't get a fancy notepad. Don't get a fancy pen, because you won't want to do it. You won't just be able to let out whatever's there. You'll be thinking about making it good, and it's not about that.
Yeah, I think there's that getting away from that perfectionism.
Exactly.
Important. Right, we've got the next book, I decided to put the full title in because if it would just put the short title in, people might got the wrong idea, which is "Take Your Pants, Take Off Your Pants." Outline your books for a better, faster, better writing by Libby Hawker.
Yes, Libby Hawker, Libby Hawker wrote this to literally, as you said, help you outline your book. But it's very no nonsense. It's very it's called Take Off Your Pants. Of course, it has to be no nonsense. But it refers to being a plotter or a pantser. So it's not just called Take Off Your Pants for no reason. There's a reference there. I promise it's relevant to tell people to take off their pants. And there are lots of pants on the covers, which I kind of love.
Well, it's also it's funny because like in the US, pants means more trousers, kind of.
Yes.
Things. But yeah, you're right. It's got pants, more the British pants, but it's called pants. Anybody who's wondering, like, what on earth has writing got to do with planning? Got to do with pants? And it's all this writing by the seat of your pants, i.e., like just writing as you go along. That's where this term pantsing. I never really liked that term pantsing, but it's
well, I mean, it's not ideal, but it makes sense, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, when I switched from being a pantser to planning, that's when I actually started finishing books. So
well, there you go.
I'm a little bit biased, I think, about the need for outlining.
Actually, a lot of people say that. A lot of people lean towards doing a lot of the planning and stuff beforehand because it just makes life easier. I think most of the people we've been interviewing on the podcast have said they wouldn't get it done if they weren't outlining and stuff beforehand. So there you go.
So right, again, let's delve into this because I'm trying to pad the sharp a little bit time-wise as well. But what did you learn from that book? Why did you put that book on this list? I mean, because presumably, did you have some sort of outlining process before you read the book that you then changed because you read the book, or were you like me and you were sort of a pantser and like you weren't really getting anywhere?
Yeah, I was definitely a pantser and not getting anywhere. I actually read it a couple of years ago. Actually, thinking back, I think Christina recommended this as well. But I, instead of just sitting down and going, I'm just going to write and see what happens, this book breaks down how to properly plan in advance. And it was the first time that I started thinking about writing a book in a more formulaic way. Not just turning up and writing and splitting it into chapters. You know, you've got to have X, Y, and Z. You've got to have this plot point. You've got to have, your antagonist and your protagonist and etc. So I don't think she uses those exact words, but thinking about it in that more scientific, formulaic way helps you to see the bigger picture when it comes to writing the book. You know, it's not just a load of words on the page. It's crafted and put together in a specific way, as it should be. I think the best books are. So that's what it taught me. It sort of opened my eyes to that and realized all my wrongs, and I'm going to take off my pants.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this is a family show.
Metaphorically, take off my pants.
Yeah. Christina says that's definitely one of the books that changed my perspective on planning. So how are you doing with have you planned your novel that's going to be coming out this year?
I have. Actually, I very in-depth planned it for the first time with Christina's help, actually. She did kick me up the bum. So instead of just, winging it, because before I outlined it properly, I had no idea what was going on in the middle, which sounds terrible, very unprofessional. But I just hadn't got round to it. Like, I knew I should plan, I knew I should try outlining, but it wasn't until I sat down and outlined the whole thing that I realized how much easier life is. That you don't have to worry about all the extra stuff and worry about things as you sit down. You don't have to worry about what the hell you're writing. You already know what the hell you're writing because you already planned it.
Okay, well, let's go off writing onto another famous book, which I'm not sure if I've read or not, to be honest, which is Memoirs of Geisha by Arthur Golden.
Yes, Memoirs of Geisha is it's just such a beautiful book. Like, I don't tend to reread books very often, or sometimes I'll refer back to bits and pieces, But this book, as you can tell, because it's a bit tattered, look,
Yeah.
I've read quite a few times because it just feels like you're in a whole other world. So I know it's not a true story, but my understanding is that the author pulled together bits from lots of different true stories about geishas to put this one together. And so even though it is that true story, and I know that it absolutely could have happened, you know, it's only the other side of the world, it feels like you're in just a completely different world. I love all the places they go to and all the different things they get up to, and it just, you kind of get caught up in the magic of it. And I like being there. I like being in the magic of Mermaids of Geisha. So that's why I like it. I think it's beautifully written and very, very well done. Otherwise, I don't think I would have read such a long book so many times.
Yeah. So, like, for anybody who's like, what is a geisha? And what's the significance of this? But because there will be people who are like, oh, Japan? What's Japan?
So a geisha is kind of like somewhere between like a hostess and entertainment. Like, for example, a lot of the scenes in the book, they're entertaining in like cafes and places, or I don't know, bars, I guess, but they look very different, obviously, because in Japan 100 years ago. They will have all the very important men sitting around talking, and the geisha will be there. They will play music, or they might they play an instrument that I forgot the name of, and they will also be there to pour the drinks and light the cigars and etc. etc. So they're just there to sort of keep everything together, I guess, and make the evening really pleasant. But it's not necessarily the nicest environment behind the scenes. It seems all lovely when you're there and you can see them in action, and you know they are beautiful women that, you know, are entertaining these lovely men, or very important wealthy men, but there's a lot of darkness to it, and the way that people end up in that kind of career, and what they have to go through at home, and various other things that I will not talk about because, like you said, this is a family show. But it is dark in places, but you know, you can't appreciate the light if you don't have the dark, right?
Yeah. And is it that kind of insight into that historical culture of Japan that is what appeals to you about the book?
Definitely, because it's something you'd never be able to experience by yourself. I think one person from somewhere other than Japan has ever been accepted as a geisha. I think she was American. So it's not really something you get to see behind the scenes of, even because it's just before World War I as well. So it's Japan. It's Japan in that era. It's kind of like that grassroots history, which I really like, just social history of what people are actually up to at the time. I find it very fascinating. Yes.
Okay, I should go on to your last book.
My last book,
which is also about magic. Well, actually not.
It's not actually about magic.
No, depression and other magic tricks.
It's a poetry book. So Sabrina Benham originally did live. What's the word I'm looking for? Slam poetry, maybe. But anyway, it's spoken poetry. I've completely forgotten the name for it. But the poems were originally designed to be seen as a performance kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I saw a video of her on social media performing one of the poems, and I was just so taken away with it, because the emotion and the genuine experience of what happened, and the way she talks about it, the imagery she uses is absolutely beautiful to listen to. And so as soon as I saw that video, I just went and pre-ordered the book, because I was like, I need this. And I've seen her live now twice in Nottingham, even though she's Canadian. And she's just brilliant. I think she is an amazing poet, and the way she uses imagery in her poems is just fantastic. And actually, obviously the book is very good, but a load of her poems are on Amazon Music. So you can hear her performing them if you wanted to.
Yeah. So, what, I mean, in terms of, do you read much in the way of poetry, or is there a particular kind of poetry that you're into that this represents?
I don't read lots of poetry. Probably something I should read more of, in fact. I guess the things that are coming out, like the Rupi Kaur one we spoke about earlier and this now, it feels quite modern. I've read poetry books from the big famous poet names, and I'm just bored. It doesn't connect, whereas a lot of these feel very relatable. It feels like, when you listen to a song and you're just like, this is exactly me. This is what's going on in my life right now. This speaks to me. It's kind of like that. If you find poetry where it kind of expresses something that you're experiencing too, it's kind of, it's such an amazing feeling, right? To listen to that poem or that song, I suppose, and to know that not only has someone else gone through it, but also that they have brought it out in this way and described it in this way and stuff. It's fascinating.
Yeah. So would you say that you're more a fan of poetry for its emotional resonance in terms of what it, rather than like technically rhymes, or it's got some sort of weird structure or something along those lines?
Well, I mean, all good poetry is emotional in some way, right?
Yeah.
A poem should spark some kind of reaction in you. I guess maybe what you could say is these are talking about emotions more. So yeah, maybe that is what I like, and I just never managed to put my finger on it, I suppose. But yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So
good emotions, good poems.
Yeah. So let's pad it out a bit more. You're writing a fantasy book, right?
Yes,
so
I am.
Why fantasy and why not poetry or modern urban? I've already forgotten, urban fantasy or something along those lines. I mean, why fantasy? Is that the genre you read the most, or is it just something that appealed to you, or is there something that book is trying to communicate to the world?
Well, actually, the novel is urban fantasy. I apologize, I didn't specify that before. I read quite eclectically. Probably most of what I read fiction-wise is fantasy, in some form or another. There's another book I wanted to put on, actually, but it wasn't available on American Amazon, which was sad. But there is... I just like to read to escape. Not necessarily that anything terrible is going on in my life right now, but people who specifically only read like crime thrillers and stuff. And I'm like, but there's so much horrible things like that in the world already. Why do you want to spend your free time only looking at that? I mean, I can't talk really the amount of murder documentaries I've watched, but when I read, I want to be in a different world. I don't want to think about my problems. I want to worry about their weird and wonderful magical problems, for instance. And I want to find characters that I can relate to in these extraordinary situations. So that's the reason why I want to write it out. Why I wanted to write it. I swear I'm good at English, but that's what came naturally to me when I think about writing. Like most of the plans I've had for stories and stuff in the past tend to have that kind of fantasy element. I was writing for my dissertation, for my master's, I was writing more of a women's fiction kind of novel. And whilst I do like some women's fiction, there's certainly not a reflection on women's fiction as a whole, but I really struggled to write it because it didn't feel like me. It didn't feel like I was getting that escape, I suppose, because I wasn't. It was just set in the real world. It just didn't appeal to me as much.
Okay. And we have something else to talk about.
We did.
Assuming I get I screwed this up in the last one. So let's change. Oh, and also get rid of the banner as well, because that would help. And now I need to work out how to share this particularly exciting mystery pick item that I ask everybody at the end of the show. If money was no object, what would they choose from Amazon? And you went for this, which is a garden set for cats.
So, you attach it to your wall. so they can run up and down it and around it and stuff. And I just think my cat would really like it. I've been looking at them for ages.
Anybody who's watching who really likes Ellie can go and buy her cat a wall-mounted. You've got one cat or multiple cats?
Just one cat. It's a big fluffy grey thing who is not in here, I don't think. No. But yeah, I mean, I've been looking at them for ages. You can get some beautiful ones on Etsy and stuff, but they're so expensive, and rightly so. You know, they're very bespoke things. But I just think I've got an empty wall in my lounge that it would fit perfectly on, and he would absolutely love it. So if I had all the money in the world, that's probably one of the first things I'd buy.
So how much does cat satisfaction represent to you? I mean, is it like, do you think your cat would enjoy this?
Yes. Definitely.
Well, I mean, because usually a lot of the time with animals and children, like you spend a lot of money on something and then they just go in the cardboard box instead. Or
yeah, my cat does like to sit in the cardboard boxes, but I think having that kind of thing, it's exercise and it's challenging and it's interesting. He could jump up and down and around and stuff. And I mean, I know it sounds silly, but I'm sure he'd love it. He does like jumping up and around and running and stuff. And I think having something like that would provide quite entertaining exercise for him, I think, which is good. Okay. I can just see him sleeping on the top. Yeah,
well, that's true. It's kind of like, I wonder if there's sort of any regulation or testing for this. Like they have to have like a cat testing certificate or something to like get the cat to do it. Maybe you could go on the sort of quality assurance team or get your cat.
That's true, because he's quite a big cat. He's just very long cat. So yeah, he'd be perfect for quality testing the cat stuff. And then I'd get free ones, wouldn't I? Because we're quality testing it. That's what we need to do.
All right, let's remove that before we all get dizzy from the being small at the bottom and go back to this exciting thing. So let's talk a little bit about the podcast, which it's called the Writers Toolkit, isn't it? I'm not
the Writer's Mindset.
Oh.
You said it at the start. Yeah. You got it right.
Yeah.
Yes, the Writer's Mindset. So we help writers write and finish their books or their projects. But we focus not just on the technical skills necessarily, but also helping people from a mindset point of view. You know, what's really holding you back?
Yeah.
What is stopping you from finishing, etc. And we have quite a lot of downloads now, actually. People seem to actually like listening to us rambling on about writing. We've had some amazing interviewees the last few episodes as well, the last season or so. And they're just so full of good, helpful information that it's crazy that people are giving us away for free.
Yeah. So, like, I can't really. Well, like, let's just say, like, who are some of the guests who have books on Amazon to keep the link going?
Yes.
That we haven't talked about in the show so far. That you say maybe, like, for people who are interested in learning about writing or marketing, like, who are some of the guests who've stood out to you over the time that you've been doing the show?
The most recent one we've had was Jenna Moresi. She does YouTube for writers. So she talks a lot about different writing skills and things on there. And she's just hilarious as well, and very, very good at what she does. You're putting me on the spot now because I can't. We've had so many wonderful writers, actually, and I'm doing them an injustice because I can't even remember them.
Which baby do you want to sort of sacrifice? Question, isn't it? In a way,
Dan Wilcox, actually. Dan or Daniel? Daniel Wilcox. Daniel
Dan.
Wilcox, I think. Sorry, I'm not sure now. Very, very interesting. He talked about all sorts of stuff, to be honest with you. He was our most downloaded episode for a long time. And then we've had lots of stuff in between, such as like you said, book marketing, also like not proofreading. Forgetting all my words tonight. It's not looking good for me, is it?
No, well, you are suffering from a cold. We don't think it's COVID, do we?
It's not. I'm sure it's not COVID.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've got some huge stuff on there. So not just writing techniques, but also like editing and marketing and things like that as well. So I mean, you've something for everyone. Something for everyone. Occasionally we play Room 101 and put something we don't like in there.
No. Ooh, no. Something's creaking. Is this the ghost? The ghost thing is like, was the cat coming?
It might have been the ghost.
It's a ghost. Okay.
Or it might have just been my chair.
Yeah. So, let's finish off with me embarrassing you. And like, are you gonna give a commitment on this show to finish your book? I was having a technical problem with the phone there. I lost the live stream.
Oh no!
Oh, we actually got some. Christina saved us with some comments.
Oh.
So, you don't have to give a commitment to when you're going to finish your book. Nicholas Eric's episode was super popular and love his books for writers. We also had this Tim Luce guy on the show. That's true. You guys did interview
Yeah, I've heard of him somewhere.
Yeah, so, it's a load of rubbish. So it's like not that
I think I have some of his books.
Not that I've got a book or anything.
Ah.
Social media. But yeah, so well, like, when do you hope to have your book available on Amazon?
It will be this year.
People will be checking in every day now for the rest of the year.
Obviously, counting down, harassing me on Twitter. Yeah, it will be this year. I am considering around summer, but I'm not setting a specific date because.
So, where are you've done the plan for it? Is the plan complete?
Yes.
Have you started writing it?
Yes, yeah, I'm like halfway through. Also.
Oh, okay. So,
well, a bit over halfway through my first draft, and then I've got to edit and beta reading and everything like that, and then fix it when it comes back from beta readers. So, but we're still a ways off, but I'm certainly on a good track.
Okay. Well, I'm sure the world and Amazon will be waiting with bated breath for your fantastic urban fantasy. Is it going to be part of a series?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's good to know. So, and have you outlined the series, or is it going to be kind of
not in full? I've got bits and pieces of plans for stuff that are going to be included, and I know sort of where we're ending up. But I just need to talk to my character more in between, obviously.
Yeah. Sometimes they do tell you. I mean, it's funny. Like, you talk to writers of fiction, especially, and it's like sometimes you have it in the plan to go a particular way, and then you're just like, the character would not do that or would not say that. No. And you change it because you actually, it's a bit like with, they say with like screenplay, and often the actors will say, no, this character would not say that. It's like they change it at the last minute, and it's the same with writing a book.
It is, yeah, and making sure those voices are strong enough to know that, I think, is really good. It's something I'm working on, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, it's been great to have you on the show.
Thank you.
They suggest I try and keep you try and get the shows to 1 hour, but it's like, well, there's only so much we can talk about in terms of writing. We went through everything really quickly, and I think that's partly my fault. Your inability to speak because of your cold. And also, it didn't help that we had that issue with the author with a name that's the same as an Amazon product, and it sets your lights off and the rest of it. And it probably anybody watching this will probably their system will be triggered by it. So
maybe.
That's why I don't have that. I have it upstairs, away from any TV or anything, because otherwise that's a problem with audio devices. They can trigger things. Anyway, it's great to have you on the show. And,
it's been great being here. It's been a lot of fun.
Yes, and hopefully 2022 we'll see you as become a massively successful author, and I can say I had you on the show. I had you on the show before you were Booker Prize winner, or whatever the accolade is for urban fantasy.
You liked me before I was cool.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and actually, we could interview you again, and you can have the whole cat thing at the back, like the cat on the little thing. But we put on the gold-plated version because
Obviously.
you'll be like the Booker Prize winning people.
Of course, yeah. Gold-plated.
Because obviously, you have
toys.
one book, and then you're stupidly wealthy after that.
That's it.
the
That's
way
how it
works.
works. One book, and then I'm a millionaire.
So thanks so much for being on the show. And this is
Anytime.
where I try and remember which one I'm supposed to finish first. I think I finished this one. So thanks to everybody who's been watching. Thanks to Christina for commenting. And yeah, thanks a lot. And no, I'm going to press this button. Hopefully the stream will finish.